A cruel HOA president dragged my disabled daughter from her wheelchair and tied her to our solar panels in the burning sun. She didn't know I was the deputy commissioner who wrote the solar panel law. Her horrible act would soon destroy her life and change our community forever. Before watching full video, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The sound of my daughter's screams still echo in my nightmares. I was racing home after receiving the most horrifying phone call of my life. Sandra, my daughter's caregiver, was hysterical. "Mr. Davis, come quick. The HOA president dragged Lily outside and tied her to your solar panels. She's threatening to leave her in the sun until you remove them. Your daughter is crying for help." My knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. Lily, my 17-year-old daughter, had been born with a spinal injury that left her paralyzed from the waist down. Though confined to a wheelchair, she had the strongest spirit of anyone I knew. "Is Lily hurt? Put her on the phone," I demanded, running a red light and narrowly missing a delivery truck. "She can't talk right now," Sandra's voice cracked. "That horrible woman is still here with 2 men from the HOA board. They're taking pictures of your electrical panels and saying the solar installation is illegal. When Lily tried to stop them from going into your office, that woman used zip ties on her wrists." As Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Affairs in our county, I had recently pushed through legislation supporting renewable energy initiatives for residential properties. It was controversial but necessary work. Climate change wasn't waiting for bureaucracy to catch up, and I wasn't about to wait either. What I didn't realize was how personal this fight would become. The meeting ran long, as these things often do. Politicians love the sound of their own voices, and I'd learned to be patient. My phone was on silent, so I didn't notice the first few calls from Sandra. It wasn't until we broke for lunch that I saw 12 missed calls and a text message that made my blood run cold. "Emergency. Come home now. Mrs. Winters from HOA caused trouble. Police here. Emily terrified." When I screeched into our driveway 5 minutes later, the scene made my blood freeze. A crowd of neighbors stood watching in shock as Barbara Winters, a short woman with helmet-like blonde hair, stood triumphantly beside our roof-mounted solar panels. She had somehow managed to drag my disabled daughter from her wheelchair and tie her directly to the metal frame of the solar panels on our yard-level patio extension. Lily's face was red from crying and the afternoon heat. Her arms were stretched painfully above her head, secured to the metal frame with bright yellow zip ties that cut into her skin. Her wheelchair lay overturned on the lawn. "Dad, help me," Lily cried when she saw me. She said she won't let me go until the solar panels are taken down. I never knew I could move so fast. I shoved past the 2 HOA board members who tried to block my path with papers. In seconds, I was beside my daughter, fumbling to free her from the cruel bindings. "What do you think you're doing?" Barbara shouted at me. "Those panels violate HOA rules. I left notices. I sent emails. You ignored all of them. So you tied my disabled daughter to them?" I roared, trying to break the zip ties with my bare hands. "She can't even stand on her own." "She was having a tantrum when I came to inspect the property," Barbara said coldly, screaming and acting hysterical when I explained that these eyesores need to be removed. Sometimes tough lessons are necessary. "She obviously gets special treatment because of her supposed disability." An officer rushed forward with scissors to cut the zip ties. As soon as Lily was free, I gathered her into my arms. Her skin was hot from the sun, her wrists bleeding where the plastic had dug into her flesh. "Daddy," she sobbed against my shoulder. She said I was faking being disabled. She said I needed to be taught respect for authority. When Sandra tried to stop her, she pushed her down and dragged me from my wheelchair. I turned to the police officer, my voice shaking with rage. "I want this woman arrested right now." Barbara snorted. "For what? Enforcing HOA rules? I have every right." "For assault, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and child abuse," the officer cut her off, already reaching for his handcuffs. "Ma'am, turn around and put your hands behind your back." "This is absurd," Barbara shrieked as the officer secured the handcuffs. "I'm the HOA president. Those solar panels violate our neighborhood covenant. They're ugly. They lower property values. I was protecting our community by tying a disabled minor to metal panels in 90-degree heat." The officer shook his head in disgust. "You're looking at serious felony charges, ma'am." Barbara's face flushed with anger. "This is all your fault," she spat at me. "If you had just followed the rules like everyone else." "These solar panels," I said slowly, my arms still around my trembling daughter, "are fully legal under state law SB 1745, which specifically prohibits HOAs from preventing homeowners from installing solar energy systems. I pulled out my county ID card and held it up to her face. I'm not just Lily's father. I'm James Davis, Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Affairs. I helped write that law. The color drained from Barbara's face. For the first time, real fear replaced her arrogance. I didn't know, she stammered. You didn't need to know, I said, my voice ice cold. What you needed was basic human decency. You tied a disabled child to metal panels in the hot sun because you didn't like how our house looks. As the police led Barbara away, neighbors began to applaud. Several came forward, offering water, blankets, and comfort to Lily, who was still shaking from the ordeal. An ambulance arrived and paramedics treated the cuts on Lily's wrists and checked her for heat stroke. That night, I sat beside Lily's bed as she drifted in and out of uneasy sleep. The doctor had prescribed a mild sedative to help with the trauma, but nothing could erase the memory of what had happened. Why did she hate me so much, Dad? Lily whispered, her eyes fluttering open. She doesn't hate you, sweetheart, I said, stroking her hair. Some people become so obsessed with control and power that they stop seeing others as human beings. It's not about you. It's about her emptiness. In the weeks that followed, the community rallied around us. Barbara faced multiple felony charges, including assault, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and child abuse. Her defense that she was enforcing HOA rules was laughed out of court. The judge, a stern woman with no patience for excuses, delivered a scathing verdict. Mrs. Winters, she declared, looking down from the bench, HOA presidents are not law enforcement. They certainly have no right to physically restrain anyone, let alone drag a disabled child outdoors and tie her to solar panels. Your actions weren't just illegal, they show a disturbing lack of basic humanity. Barbara received a 3-year prison sentence with no possibility of early release. The restraining order meant she could never again come within 500 feet of Lily or our home. But this was just the beginning of justice. Using my position as deputy commissioner, I requested a full investigation into our HOA's practices. What investigators uncovered was shocking. Barbara had been running the association like her personal kingdom for years. Financial records showed she had used HOA funds for luxury vacations, designer clothes, and even plastic surgery, all classified as administrative expenses. Former residents came forward with horrifying stories of harassment and threats. 3 months after the incident, I stood before a packed community center. Residents voted unanimously to dissolve the HOA board and press criminal charges against all involved in the financial fraud. The 2 board members who had stood by while Barbara tied Lily to the solar panels were fired from their jobs and faced criminal charges for failing to intervene. But the most powerful change came from the state legislature. Using Lily's case as a rallying cry, I worked with lawmakers to pass the Resident Protection Act, creating severe penalties for HOA overreach and establishing clear protections for disabled residents. The law, which passed with unanimous support, became known across the country as Lily's Law. As for our solar panels, they remained proudly on our roof, gleaming in the sunlight and standing as a symbol that cruelty and tyranny will not win against justice. 6 months after the incident, Lily and I sat in our backyard. The physical wounds on her wrists had healed, though she still had nightmares about being tied up in the hot sun, unable to move as Barbara towered over her. Dad, she said quietly, watching butterflies dance around our garden, do you think people like Mrs. Winters ever really understand what they did wrong? I put my coffee down and considered the question. I don't know, sweetheart. Some people are so focused on control that they never see how they hurt others. But prison gives people time to think. Lily nodded thoughtfully. I still have flashbacks sometimes. But I'm not afraid anymore. What she did was terrible, but look what came from it. She gestured to the neighborhood around us. She was right. In the months following the incident, every single house on our street had installed solar panels. What Barbara had feared would decrease property values had turned our neighborhood into a model green community that was winning national environmental awards. But more importantly, the incident had transformed a collection of separate homes into a true community that looked out for each other. She was right. In the months following the incident, neighbors had approached me one by one, not just asking about solar installation but actively supporting Lily. What Barbara had feared would decrease property values had created a model green community that was receiving national recognition. But more importantly, it had transformed a group of disconnected homeowners into a true community united against bullying and abuse of power. That evening, as I helped Lily get ready for bed, she suddenly grabbed my hand. Dad, something came in the mail for me today. She handed me a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a short letter written in neat handwriting on prison stationery. Dear Lily, I am writing to say I am deeply sorry for what I did to you. There is no excuse for my behavior. Every day in prison I think about how I tied you to those solar panels and left you suffering in the sun. I was a monster. Your father was right to fight for justice. I hope someday you can forgive me, though I will never forgive myself. Barbara Winters. I looked at my daughter, stunned. How do you feel about this? Lily took the letter back and placed it in her bedside drawer. I believe she means it, she said quietly. And that's enough for now. My throat tightened with emotion. Despite everything she'd been through, my daughter had found the strength to accept an apology without letting it erase the harm that was done. At 17 she showed more wisdom than most people gain in a lifetime. Lily's law now shields homeowners from HOA tyranny and specifically protects disabled residents from discrimination and abuse. When Barbara was released from jail, she found herself a pariah. No one would speak to her, rent to her, or hire her. Soon after, she moved away, fleeing the community she had once terrorized. 3 months after she left, a package arrived at our door. Inside was a handwritten letter and a donation of $50,000 to a disability rights organization in Lily's name. The letter read, I cannot undo what I did to your daughter. Prison gave me time to face the monster I had become. The money is everything I have left from selling my possessions. Please tell Lily that her courage changed me fundamentally. I will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. When I showed Lily the letter, she asked me to frame it. I questioned why she would want such a painful reminder on her wall. It's not a reminder of pain, Dad, she explained, her eyes wise beyond her years. It's proof that standing up to bullies can change more than laws. It can change hearts. Later that night, I stood in our driveway looking up at our solar panels gleaming under the moonlight. What began as a simple environmental choice had sparked a battle that exposed corruption, united a community, created new laws, and ultimately transformed lives. Including, most surprisingly, the life of the woman who had caused so much pain. And that was a victory more complete than any revenge could ever be.